Right then, welcome back to the podcast. It has been a while. I am labelling this as Ryan's podcast now. It's mine. It's just mine. Not that it wasn't before, but before it was known as Ryan's Road podcast. I don't know if I can get it on the podcast platforms to line up as the same one, because I used to do it through a website called Anchor FM, and that's gone now. So it might just have to be like two separate kind of podcasts, the old one and the new one, but I'm carrying on the numbers. This is number 46. Okay, that's just is what it is. Now, it's been a while. The last podcast I did was on the 29th of March 2022, which was 821 days ago. So I've grown a little. I've aged more. Yeah, just stuff, man. Life, as always, getting in the way. And my own head, which is a big one. So that being said, some slight differences with the new reformed version of the podcast. Hence kind of with the name, with it just being Ryan's podcast as opposed to Ryan's Road, was that I feel like before my direction was a little bit more like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, or I felt like I had an idea but I wasn't 100%. So since then, what I've kind of come to the realisation of is that I need counselling / therapy, whatever. And I did have some from, if you watched all my old podcasts on the Ryan's Road podcast, I did touch on the big crash that me and the family had. Now, I did get a small payout for that, which I kind of got shafted on in my opinion, because the solicitor at the time was shit. But a big part of it was I did get some therapy, counselling, whatever you want to call it, for a while. And it did help at the time. And I've said this before, but what I found about counselling, therapy stuff was that it was really good just to have an hour a week where I sat down with someone, obviously on the phone. I said obviously on the phone, that ain't obvious, right? They didn't know that. You might have went somewhere. Anyway, I sat down and I'd just have that hour a week to just fucking talk, and it was like a guilt-free hour just to decompress. You know what I mean? Just to kind of go through thoughts, feelings, like what I thought I was doing, etc. So basically that's led me to kind of believe with the whole I like to talk and podcasts and stuff, is that what I want this podcast to be is for me, right? I want it for me. Before, I think I was trying too much to aim towards helping other people, and I'm just not that kind of guy. It's too cringy for me. Like at the minute, now thanks to AI, I'm banging out clips of the old podcasts. I'm putting 4 reels up a day. I struggle to watch them because I feel like a dick. I can see myself trying to give people advice and say these things, and I'm just like, I'm just not comfortable with it. So now what I feel like I want to do is I'm having this weekly podcast, but it's directly directed for me, right? So I'm going to sit down Friday mornings now, which is something I always wanted to do as well, because I'd always done the podcast before in an evening, and it was hard, you know, with work and the kids and everything else. By the time I got to that time of the day, it was really difficult to push through to be able to talk, like podcasty talk, and be articulate and everything, and be on point, and kind of trying to remember things I'd want to speak about and everything. But I'd used to be driving around in my van at this kind of time of the day, and I'd just be like firing on all cylinders and whatnot. So anyway, yes, Friday mornings now. And I want it as my hour for the week to kind of rehash, go back over things I've encountered, thought, feelings, plans for me, right? To kind of keep on top of my mental well-being, mental health, whatever you want to call it, because I've always said that mental health is exactly the same as physical health, where you need to exercise, you need to release, you need to get it out, you need to be regularly working on it. You can't just read a cool self-help book and be like, oh yeah, I'm fixed now. Oh, you got to keep on top of shit. I always said that. And I did kind of do that with my podcast before, but now I'm like, right, no, that is the clear direction of it. I'm doing it for me, but I'm hoping that as not a plan B, as like a second part of that with it being a podcast, because I could just sit in this room and talk to this camera and this microphone and not upload anything, and I would get just as much benefit for me doing that, because I'd have got it out my head and I just spoke it out, because that's a big thing when you got all shit in your head. It's really good to just talk it out. This is why I used to bang on so much about having a really good partner. Excuse me, I'm still getting over a bit of a cold. So I'm a bit coffee shitty. And this is staying in. My podcasts will always remain unedited and authentic as shit. So I've not planned any of this. I've got no notes. I had my phone with that screen on soon at 8:21 days because I want to remember that number. But that's it. Other than that, this is all just me talking, and it will forever be like this. There's plenty of podcasts out there that are planned, that, you know, they read books and stuff and then regurgitate things that they've maybe took from that and blah. I can't be that. Like, I've went off track how many times already in the space of like 6 minutes. So what I was trying to say was, yes, the podcast is for me to keep myself balanced, but I'm going to put it out as a podcast in the hopes that people listening to it, it might have a knock-on effect then of seeing me and how I'm talking about myself and for myself, that they might then do the same thing. That they might then think, oh, I need to do that. Like, or maybe even just me talking might make them feel better, because I might hit on a lot of points that they're feeling as well, because most of the things I'm doing, I'm just normal fucking dad, married, kids and shit. So a lot of the things I'll touch on, they'll probably be like, oh shit, I feel like that as well. So relatability and a bit of just maybe giving people the idea of like, yeah, I should do that myself. Just sit down for an hour and just like do an audio note on your phone and then delete it or something. So that would be nice. Oh, see, I have been doing videos, right? Because I'm doing my YouTube and that's the whole thing with that, which I'll get into, because there's no, like before, like I say with the podcast, where we're like trying to touch on deep feelings or whatever. This is just for me to talk about now, so it's a lot easier, because this is shit that I'm thinking about and need to talk about. But yeah, I went to pause then because I've been trying to get better at recording YouTube videos, because I know I can talk and I can just kind of keep going. But I know with recording videos, it's good when you've reached the end of a point to kind of stop, gather your thoughts for a second, and then carry on talking, because it makes editing it a lot easier. But I've just fucking said I'm not editing this podcast, so I can't pause and talk and think about other things. But yes, the biggest thing for me at the minute is that I'm trying to get back to doing my YouTube stuff, which this podcast is part of. This will be on my YouTube channel, because before, when I was doing the Ryan's Road podcast, I feel like I'm cheating a bit saying this is episode 46, but it is. It's all me. It's all progression, regardless of what the fuck it's called. It's still me sitting in this room talking to you guys. Obviously, James isn't here, and he played a big part towards the middle and end of the Ryan's Road podcast. And I will get him back on. Maybe, well, I spoke to him because he said he'd like to do it again, but I said maybe like once a month, because I really want this to be for me, to help myself and then hopefully set the example for others. I'm going to burp. I'm sorry. It's coming. I can feel it coming. I shouldn't have said it. Oh, pardon me. If these are bad bits, just I suppose I can edit the podcast, but I just don't like to do it. So yes, before I was doing the podcast on a separate YouTube channel, it's Ryan's Road Podcast, right? And then at the same time, I had what I thought was a fitness channel where I was doing fitness vlogs of me doing little workouts in the morning in my outside gym. I'm pointing there because we're in my garage at the minute. There's a door right in front of me, and literally I can see my pull-up bars and everything. They're right back in there. So I've done that. Did I have another one? Yes, I have a music channel as well, because I used to rap, because I originally built this room for music. It's a acoustically treated, soundproof, acoustic treated room that I built for when, because I wanted to rap. Right. So with my kind of YouTube journey on that front, it was very trying to find your niche, right? I've mentioned this in a video that I've put up as well. And I used to always struggle with these fucking niches, because I'm like, that it ain't me. Like, I like to talk, and I like to talk about feelings and stuff I think and ideas and whatnot. So the podcast, right? So that gives me that outlet for that. But I get hyper fixated on hobbies quite regularly. So different stages will be different things. So I got really hooked on Pal World a couple months ago when that came out. I haven't really played a computer game for fucking years, but that just sucked me in, because it was a great form of escapism at the time, and I needed something to get me away from shit. And I was self-aware enough at the time to know, like, this isn't a long-term solution. But at the time, I was like, fuck it. just enjoy playing the game, because the alternative from playing the game and allowing myself to get sucked into that at the time was like I was going like pretty dark. There was an instance with a bit of a knife in the kitchen, and like I didn't go and get it for myself. I was feeding the dog, and the wife had gone out. I think me and the wife weren't exactly on the same page at the time. I can't remember why, because like we never like fell out or anything like that. But you know, you have days when like maybe you're both feeling a bit shitty, or for whatever reason, or like both pretty dark, both having negative days, and you can't be on the same page together because you're both struggling, right? And yeah, I'd fed the dog, or I was about to, and I had the knife out to feed the dog. And I was literally trapped. I like to sit on the worktop in our kitchen at the side by the window, and I couldn't fucking move. I was trapped, and I remember messaging the wife, and she was out. I was like, "I need you to come home." Like, if anyone wants more depth on this story, I'll find the fucking messages, because I swear I remember saying something like the demons in my head, they're trying to get me, because I was just staring at this fucking knife, and it was just, yeah, I was a mess. Like that whole fucking afternoon. I did speak to some friends about it as well as my wife, so I kind of like got it out there. But yeah, I weren't good. Like I'm not amazing now. Like, hence why I don't think anyone ever is. But that was pretty bad, and that's why I was like, right, I'm just going to allow myself to sink into playing this fucking Power World game, because I couldn't handle my own thoughts at the time. I needed that escapism, but I was self-aware enough to know that long term I needed to do something more healthy, so to speak. So yeah, sorry, I went off track there a little bit. So basically, yeah, with the YouTube channel and all this like niche bollocks, I just found that I can't do one niche. I can't do one thing. And that isn't a case of like, oh, I'm indecisive and all this, because you get like that, and you're like, oh yeah, you know, then you'll get down on yourself then, or at least I fucking did. You know, but like, oh, why can't you just pick one thing right? Like, maybe you got some other fucking illness and shit, because I hate labels. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, I need to go, because I feel like when you got a label half the time, it just gives you an excuse just to be lazy or procrastinate or just be a dick or whatever. Like, I fucking hate it. So anyway, one thing I'd kind of felt, which is nice then when I see mainstream people saying the same thing. So basically I got to a point where I was like, after talking to enough people, for like friends, and especially like with my job, see when, we'll get onto that in a minute, being an electrician, I'd obviously always meet new people, customers and stuff, and because I like to talk, I'd always get chatting. And I always found when I talked to them about all the different things I like doing and whatnot, like, people don't do that like me. Like, most people typically have, if you tick in the general boxes, maybe relationship, kids, family, job, and they might have a hobby. Half the time when people have got kids, family, and job, they haven't even got a fucking hobby. But some of them will, even if it's just a case of they like to play console games, computer games, whatever. Or like, you know, there's guys, because I notice from things I do, so like when I go jiu-jitsu and I speak to the guys at jiu-jitsu and grappling where I go to, I'll talk to them, and it's like, well, that's what they do. They might exercise as well. They might go to the gym and things like that. But it's like they do gym and exercise and they come to jiu-jitsu. That's it. That's normal, healthy. Yeah, you've got a good hobby and it's a physical one as well. It's good, blah, blah. Then I found it like when I've got sucked into like paintballing at one stage, and it's like, well, that's their hobby. Every kind of hobby that I get sucked into, I then get into the world of that hobby and I talk to people within it, and it's always a case of, well, that's the one thing they do. And I've always kind of been like, realised that ain't me. I'm just not one. I love finding new stuff. Like, we've went to because the snow dome's near us where I live in the UK, so it's a snow slope. So we've been there and we've done like a soft snow play with the kids. I think it's half hour you get in the snow and you just kind of play around, and it's nice because snow's kind of rare in the UK these days. Anyway, they've got a slope. There's snowboarders there. So I'm looking at that, and most people might go, that looks kind of cool. I look at that, then go, that's cool. I wonder how much lessons are. How much is a snowboard? When can I do that? Same with ice skating. Me and the wife went with my eldest about a week before. So this is all in the space of a couple of weeks, all around the snow dome thing. And yeah, took my eldest son. And the skates were uncomfortable. And I was like, oh, I want some comfy skates. I was like, this could be good. Like, I want to be as like, I like the idea of getting competent at a lot of things, but not like world class, if you know what I mean. Same with my BMX and everything else. So yeah, now I've kind of come to the conclusion that with my YouTube channel and that sort of stuff, I am the niche. It's me. So I've changed the name of the YouTube channel. It's just Ryan Gibson. It's just the Ryan Gibson YouTube channel. It's fucking me. So I'm putting my podcasts on there. They're on there. My live streams of playing Pokemon on there. I've done a couple live streams now of playing Power World. It's the channel where I've done my original fitness vlogs, so they're still all on there. I've moved all my Becoming a Rapper vlog series that I did originally in this room. They're all on that channel. So it's me and it's on there. And when you kind of go off of what people say about YouTube, it's not the best idea, okay? I need to burp again. So sorry. What if that's because I had something to eat and drink before starting? That might be a thing not to do. Not have food and tea before starting the podcast at this kind of time slot. Apologies. So, yes. Lost my train of thought. It's fucking terrible. But I don't want to edit the podcast. If you're listening this far through and these kind of interruptions are a problem, tell me and fine, I'll give in and I'll edit these bits out. It just makes more time. I'm lazy. I'd rather use the time that I would spend editing this just to make more content. I feel like that's a better use of time. So yes, me the niche. Because a lot of YouTube advice and stuff is all... it's hard, right? Because you got to get that balance between... You get like hobbyist sort of thing, and then, right, okay, you trying to make it like a business, you trying to make money. Just checking we're still recording. You're trying to make money with YouTube, because if you are, and it's like a businessy thing, and obviously a lot of people are impatient, and they don't want to do the grind, and they want things straight away. So obviously all the advice and stuff is all around like, right, pick a fucking niche down, only talk about that thing, only do that one thing, and then here's all the different ways of monetizing that one thing so that like you can get money straight. And I'm like, yeah, that don't really work for me. So what can I do? So that's why I've kind of had to lean into this whole thing of like, no, I'm the niche, it's me. So I understand that it'll be harder for like the algorithm and even people watching, they might get a bit confused with like, oh, so you're a podcast channel or you're a gaming channel? Like, nope, I'm a personal channel, it's me. But it's that whole self-brand thing. And it's nice whenever like Gary Vee said this, Gary Vaynerchuk. I've read his books and I like him. I like Gary. He swears. He fucking swears. He's cool. I say cool like that just like my stepdad swore a lot as I was growing up. So I just swear. It is what it is. So I like it when people don't sugarcoat shit. So yeah, I remember watching a clip with him talking to someone about, what's niche should I do and blah, blah, blah. And he looked at this guy and he's like, you are the niche. And it's the whole authenticity thing. It's like, if you do your genuine version of you, no one else can copy it. Like, all the videos and ideas I get that I want to do, if I do them all, if anyone tried to copy me, they'd probably get burnt out because they wouldn't want to do those things. Like, if my channel will work in the long term, and then people try and look at me and look at, oh, wow, come Ryan's done so well, let's look at what he's done. And they're like, oh, but I don't want to do that and this. Oh, yeah, good, don't. Do what you want to do. Again, if it works. But that's kind of my whole thing, because I found when I was doing podcasting before and I was doing my YouTube videos before, kind of like a little bit of market research, I kind of view it as, in that I got the feedback that I wanted. Like, I seem to be creating relationships with the people on a small scale. There's only like a handful of people that used to talk to me regularly and comment regularly, but I'd get the feedback that I was kind of hoping for, which then at the time told me like, right, if you can scale this, right, there's no sense that it won't work, because I'm trying to bring to the table all the shit that I'd like to see that I don't see out there. Like with the podcast thing, like the whole scripted and rehearsed podcast stuff, it's been done to death and there's plenty of people doing it, right? Even within that, there's always the same thing of like, you might just listen to a podcast and not like someone's voice. Like, it might be a great podcast and really informative and really helpful and everything, but if you don't like the mannerisms and just how that person talks, you ain't going to like it. So no matter what kind of niche or thing like that, there's always a window for you, as long as you put it across your own way. So there is that, right? Now, I listen to, like, I liked the Jocko podcast. I don't really listen to it anymore. I don't really listen to much lately, in regards to podcasting, because I felt like personally I was doing too much listening and not enough doing. Anyway, what the shit in my head would do would straight away bring up some negative comparison between me and whoever the fuck's talking. You know what I mean? So, like, with Jocko, I love Jocko, right? He's a badass fucking ex-Navy SEAL, businesses and shit. His kids are badass jiu-jitsu players and fucking, you know, you can't say a bad word against the guy. But the shit in my head, like the negative voices, are like, oh yeah, it's alright for you, Jocko. Like, because you just went straight into the fucking Marines when you were a kid, like, and you just got everything you needed then. And yeah, you met your wife, but like, she's really supportive and strong as well. Like, if you haven't, when you're trying to like take advice from someone, for the demons and the shitty voices in your head, if they've not gone through something or have circumstances that are almost exactly the same as yours, it puts up this wall for you to take that on. It's really hard for you to listen to him, and I hate it because I love Jocko and I love like Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan and everything else and whatnot. But I'm like, in my position, I've got my wife who I love to bits, and I don't want anyone else, and I never would. But with her comes her mental health struggles that she's had. So I can't just lean on her and expect her to just like look after the fucking kids all the time while I cracked on and whatnot. And then at the same time, a lot of it's around this fucking crash, man. Like, I did do a podcast on it. I'm sure I did in the old series. If I need to, I could do another one. But I'd probably rather do another one once it's all done and finished, because the claim's still ongoing. Hoping it'll be done the end of this year, because the wife's constant surgeries have all like kept pushing the date on, because once she had a surgery, they've got to wait to see how she recovers and everything else. But yeah, a lot of that, man, was the way I always describe that crash was that it was on a Sunday morning, clear weather, driving in a straight line, and me, my wife, and both my kids at the time were all nearly fucking wiped out in the space of a few seconds for like no fault, rhyme or reason. Like I always said, it would have been way easier if, because the wife was driving, if she'd pulled out too soon at a junction and we got hit. Because then I could blame my wife, I could blame her lack of judgment and focus, forgive my wife, but then also compound that with, I know she's going to be more careful next time. Like that probably, I can say that probably won't happen again, because she'll be more careful. If anything, it would probably take us twice as long to get out of any junction, and it'll take us an extra fucking half hour to get anywhere, because she'd be really apprehensive if we're pulling out anywhere, right? But no, because she literally couldn't have done, she didn't do anything wrong, and she couldn't have done anything differently, and it was literally just down to chance that someone had a lapse of judgment and lost control of their car and fucking smashed into the side of ours and sent us down a deep ditch, and the car rolled like twice. There was fuck all left of like the front half of the car. Like, it's been hard because the amount of people that have said like, oh, you're lucky, like, you know, you're not worse off and blah, blah, blah. And it's always like, man, like, I get what you're saying. We could be worse physically injured, or like we could be dead and stuff. But let's grab you, your significant other, and your children, and fuck you down a ditch at 70 mile an hour. And then when you get out, see how you feel. Like, blah. Got a bit heavy, a bit deep. So with that, the main thing that's compounded on me, right, is that I've always been an active dad, active parent, and an active partner. And what I mean by that is, like, when me and the now wife got together, I was like, right, if I'm getting in a proper relationship, I don't want to be bouncing around like I want this to fucking work, right? I want to do it properly, because that's just who I am, right? And then when I found out I was going to be a dad, it's like, right, we're going to be parents together now, because we'd only been together a few months when we found out we were having the first one. So, like, at the time, the wife had her own place that she lived in. So, obviously, she was hormonal and everything because she was pregnant and whatnot. And, you know, we'd get into moments where she'd be like, get out of my house, meh, meh, meh. And I was, like, patient like a saint. Because in my head, I was like, we're going to be parents in a few months. Like, we need to get a few years worth of relationship growth packed into a few months so that when that kid comes, we're a fucking team. Like, I didn't want any shit in the way. I wanted us to be a fucking united front because I knew having a child was going to be hard. So, I know, a bit of a long story, but just trying to paint the picture of how I was before this whole crash thing. So, yeah. So, I was like, heavily, right, want to be a good partner. And then, obviously, once son was born, I was like, my job title as dad is to ready this child to become an adult. Like, he's going to spend most of his life as an adult. So, and I don't mean like suck away the childhood. I mean, if you see my other videos, at the minute I'm building a skate ramp and everything in the garden and an in-ground trampoline and everything. Like, I'm fun with my kids, man. Like, I play Pokemon cards with them. I taught them all how to play. It's cool as fuck. I'm a fun dad. But along with that, I'm like, they need to be ready for life. Okay? Since the crash, and to be fair, how I've described that is already probably a bit heavier than I would have spoke about it pre this fucking crash. But yeah, now it's those attributes that I had already, and they're like magnified because I thought those things anyway, and now it's like, fuck, we could all be dead tomorrow in any order, like me or my kids or my wife, like, for no rhyme or reason, some shit could just happen and we'd literally be fucking dead tomorrow. And you can say that anyway, regardless if you've been in like a near-death kind of situation, experience sort of thing. But when you have, hence why it's called PTSD, it's like, shit, that's true. Like, it's so easy when we just say things, but when you've been that close to something or you've been through it, you're like, fuck yeah, that's real, right? So I've learnt to manage it more since. Like I said, I did have my counselling and stuff. But yeah, it's at a point like with working and things. Like, I managed to try and tailor my work when I was an electrician, which I only stopped a few months ago, which isn't ideal. But I tailored my work around doing little jobs, so I wouldn't be out of the house as long and I wouldn't have to travel as far. The jobs were nicer. But the main reason I done it, like, I had a bunch of reasons on like my work page that I'd say why I like doing the small jobs. But the real fucking reason is I wanted to be out the house. I need to get to the job quickly. I didn't want to travel far between jobs, and I wanted to be fucking home quickly. And with little jobs, there was less likelihood of shit going wrong or taking twice as long as it should, and it still brought the money in. But I wouldn't go to jobs early. I'd do the school run. I'd be back for the school run, and I didn't work weekends. And it was one of them where, like, the amount of times if I did have like a long day, like like if I got into that mindset of, no, I'm the dad and I need to earn money and I'm the provider and rah, and like I booked some more working and whatnot, and let's say I come home at like fucking 5, 6. I just couldn't cope with knowing I'd missed out on time with the kids. Yeah, I couldn't. Like, I need to fucking be here. I need to be present with them. And this is what I mean by like how I was before the crash, and now it's just like magnified. Because before I was like a very involved parent anyway. But I'd do it more around work and whatnot. Like, I know when my first son was born, I was working like the next day. And I bet that's true for a lot of people, a lot of men especially. Is like, your kid's born, you might have their day off and stuff. But now I'm just like, I could work during the school hours, but that was kind of it. And when you're self-employed and you're a tradesman, that isn't enough, because you need to work the hours. But then, even if the hours and you're not working, you need to be like doing your posts, your Facebook stuff and everything else. You need to be chasing up messages and whatnot. And it's like, you know, I could be replying to messages and getting them to send me pictures, or then arranging to go and do a quote and everything else and look at the job and blah blah blah, and then do all that and then still not get the actual job. Like, they might decide they don't want it doing, or they can't afford it, or they want someone cheaper or whatever else. So yeah, and it kind of got to a point where like I say, when you're self-employed and you're a tradesman, like I know everything that you have to do. I just couldn't do it because of this whole fucking thing that I've got now from the crash. It might not have worked out anyway, maybe. But anyway, when you work for yourself, especially as a tradesman, you have to work to get the work and then do the work once you've got it. I could do the work. I couldn't work on getting it because I didn't fucking want it, man. I didn't want it, and it was so fucking hard to be like polite to people and nice. And that's the other thing, because I was like struggling so much and everything. Like, one thing I did miss about working in crappy places like UPS loading lorries, or like when I was a mechanic working in the garage and stuff, I'd say more UPS. I don't think I was that close to people at the garage. Yeah. You go to work, and if it's a place where you've been going for years and you're looking a bit shitty, you've got people that will probably like, they'll leave you alone. They'll be like, ah, shit. Like, because you talk to them on your good days about bad stuff, and they might be like, let's give Rice some space today. Like, we won't talk to him because he's going through some shit or whatever. Or they might be like, hey, like, if you need to talk, like, lunch, we can talk to you. Like, you got like a comfort blanket around you, even inside the workplace. I'm guessing not all workplaces are like that. Depends where you work. But with the self-employed thing, a big part of my brand with my electrics was me. It was all me. It was Ryan. Everyone knew me as Ryan. And people bought into me. It's like there was other electricians out there, cheaper and more expensive, but it's like they wanted Ryan because I was polite as fuck, and like I'd bring a nice atmosphere when I'd come to their homes to do the job for them, and I'd do a good job. So it's like they wanted me there, so I had to put face on. You know what I mean? I had to be fucking happy. I was like, "Oh yeah, you're right, are you? Right, okay. So where was it you wanted the sockets again? Da, da, da. So you've been okay anyway? Oh, your dog's cute, blah, blah, blah." And a lot of the time, I seem to have more like older customers and stuff, and they'd want to talk about their shit. Like, oh, well, and they'd start going about their medical history or whatever they're dealing with, or their family problems or anything like that. Because I've always been a good ear to listen to, despite me doing a podcast where I just talk all the fucking time. I know I can talk like a fucking trooper, but believe it or not, I'm good at listening. So yeah, I'd be more like an agony aunt for other people, and I'd be like, oh. And at the time, like, I'd try and talk to my wife, but it would be, by the time we could talk, she'd be like, right, I just want to fucking sleep. I'm knackered. Because at the end of the day, like, we've got 3 young kids. It's fucking hard. So by the time you get to that time of the day, it's just, you ain't got the energy to kind of speak like that. So yeah, it got to the point, we're in, I don't know what fucking month it is. What are we in? June. We're in June, right? So it got to like November last year, and my van died. Okay? So this is where like all the shit kind of compiled. Van died. Before that, I'd already had all these struggles with work. Ever since lockdown with my work, it had been peaks and valleys. Like, I'd be busy and then I'd have nothing for 4 weeks, and then I'd be busy and then nothing for 2 weeks. Like, it was so peaks and valleys. It was ridiculous. I don't know why, but just the consistency never came back. And like I said, I couldn't bring myself to put in the real effort to really push. Like, if I'd done some Facebook posts and messaged a few people and I got nothing back, I was like, well, I've tried. Like, because my heart weren't in it to like build this business sort of thing. I was just like, I'm just getting some fucking money in. And because I got such this view on life, like, I don't really give a fuck about the bills. Like, I like to keep the landlord happy because it's the house. I like to make sure we can afford food. But if it's like phone bills, Sky, even the fucking energy bills and all the other shit, it's like, I'm pretty good at talking to people and I'm pretty good on the phone. So like, I found with most of those kind of companies and bills, if I'd just call them like, hey, sorry, I ain't got it this month, or blah blah, they'd set up a payment plan, or they'd put it on to the next month or whatever. They'd do something. Even my landlord's a family friend, and he's really laid back, mainly because he knows we'll get this payout from the claim for the crash, because he's a solicitor himself and he puts onto the firm that we've got the claim going through with. But I don't like to take that for like granted. Like, I'd much rather keep the rent fucking paid. So there's no risk if he has a bad day. I'm like, actually, right, no, I'm pissed off at you. You've missed the last 2 months. Get out of the fucking house. So yeah, most bills don't bother me because I know they don't have much of a real world impact. They're just more niceties, aren't they? Like, if you got food and somewhere nice to live and you've got a healthy, happy family, it's like, man, you're winning on a lot of fronts. losing my train of thought ever so slightly. So yeah, work was really like up and down and shit. Because of the crash, I didn't have that enthusiasm behind it. Yes, my van died in November. I had an old school kind of friend / customer lend me a van through December and a little bit into January. So I got some jobs done then and whatnot. But then after that, it was like I was just using the wife's car, and then it was even harder trying to balance customers' diaries along with like when the wife needed the car. And it was really shit then not having all my tools in there, like constantly having to take them in and out. So I ain't got a van, using the wife's car. Work's still up and down. It weren't that thick and fast or anything. And then she could see the pain and everything I was in with just trying to get out to these jobs. And she was kind enough to be like, right, fuck it off. Like, don't worry about it. And then you can just do your content stuff, which was easy enough to say, but at the time, I didn't have a working computer. I had my old iMac, and this is a big reason that I'd kind of stopped doing the podcast as well at the time, the 800 odd days ago, is because I had an old iMac. I say old, I bought it brand new. 2007? No, 2011? It was 2011. But yeah, basically, I showed it to my mate who works at Apple, and he said, yeah, it's one of the worst iMacs we've ever done. He's like, it's good for like Word and Excel, like spreadsheets and shit like that, but processing videos and that, not so much. And at the time, I was recording the podcast on my DSLR, so I'd have to import all the video. And literally, if I wanted to do a podcast, I'd have to put it in and leave it overnight to import it, and then trying to edit it. When I say edit it, just line up the audio, because I used to record the audio separately, and it would lag when I'm trying. It was just so much of a headache. It's just I just couldn't use it for editing any video. So yeah, even though the wife was like, fuck it, you crack on, I was like, yeah, but I can't jump on it straight away. Obviously at my point now, I've got a new MacBook Pro, which is nice. So yeah, it's still hard at the minute. So even though I'm sitting here and I'm doing this podcast and I'm kind of telling you that like I'm not working at the minute, it's nice and everything, the wife's work went well for like that month, right? And then it's just fucking dropped off again. So now we've had the real hard dynamic of, it's like, well, she said I could work on this. She said she'd focus on the bills. But throughout like the 10 years plus we've been together, I've been the main earner. So now when she kind of took that role on, she was sitting pretty. And then as soon as it's dropped down again, you know, we've had to have conversations, because we'd have like those kind of passive aggressive remarks of like, well, you need to fucking work again, sort of thing. And I'd be like, oh, fuck. Like as soon as she'd say those words, like my anxiety levels just shot through the fucking roof. Because it's a whole fucking thing with my job, because at the same time as the things I already said, with the lockdown thing, the only thing I was entitled to was a bounce back loan, right? Because I was a company, but I had no employees or premises or anything. So I was only entitled to a bounce back loan, which I used to pay off all my corporation tax and shit at the time, not the credit card that we'd lived on for the whole of lockdown. So basically, like, financially, I just went down the shitter. So I'm in an IVA at the minute with all my personal debt. And then it got to the point with my bank. This will correlate in a sec, right? The bounce back loan repayment started. At the same month, they'd called me and said, oh, you're not using your overdraft rights, so we're going to start taking that off you by £200 a month. And at the time, I hadn't had any work for about 4 or 5 weeks. So I had no money coming in. I had fuck all. And then suddenly my outgoings were like another fucking, what, 600-700 quid. And I'm like, well, I ain't fucking got it, mate. Like, I'd never get arsy with them on the phone and be like, it's just kind of matter of fact. Like, I ain't got it. Work's not coming in. I was trying to get work at the time as much as I could. And they weren't coming in, so it's like, right, okay, we'll put it to the recoveries team, who were really nice people, to be fair. They were like, how's your business, blah, blah, blah. Right, okay, we'll give you a call in 6 months, see how you're getting on. But then, yeah, it got to the point towards the end of last year as well, when my van died and stuff, and they were kind of like, kind of need to know what you're doing with the company. Like, you know, are you carrying on trading? Are you not? So I've opted, because I think there was about 20 odd grand's worth of debt, or I say was, there is, with my electrical company from this bounce back loan and my overdraft and everything else. So I'm kind of like, well, the one benefit to it being a limited company is like, well, just let the ship sink then, because I ain't got the fucking money. I ain't got the funds to pay that. And if I was, when I was working, I was just about getting enough to help towards the bills. It left none spare to go towards paying debts or anything. It's not a trade or business that I want to build upon or grow or anything anyway. So it's easy just to kind of brush my hands of it and go like companies just going down, whatever. There's all technical jargon and shit about the way it's going down. I've went properly through my accountant and everything, like, because I'm shit with this sort of stuff. So, and I always want to do things properly. So I can't tell you the details, mainly because I don't fucking know. But the general gist of it is like, I'm not trying to fix or save the business. But that obviously means, to be legit, I'm like, well, I can't do any electrical work at the minute, or under that, or under my business name or anything. Like, you know, I can't just be like, oh yeah, this business is sinking, whoop, like suddenly start up a new electrical company and using all my old clients and everything. Like, it's just way dodgy. So I'm in this kind of awkward bit where I'm like, I can't, like, I really don't fucking want to. Like, I can't cope with the whole, ugh. I've already explained it all, but yeah, like, I've done the best I could. I mean, the crash was like 7 years ago this year. And considering it was only like March this year. So yeah, I put on, it might even be 8 years this year, by October. Point being, I didn't have the crash, try working for a few months to go, oh, I can't do this. I've had fucking years and I've really tried, and I just come to the point where like, I can't fucking do it, right? It ain't happening. So yes, that's kind of coming to this thing then with the wife when she's having her bad days the last month or so of working, and I'm like, ugh, like, I can't just jump back and get like my old work back. It's all mucky because of the way it is with the company and everything. But at the same time, she's struggling with this whole pressure of earning the money. So I've been having these conversations with the wife now, checking the time, of like trying to put her in my shoes where I was like several years ago when it was like, well, she had the kids. They're all babies. I mean, they're like, shit, my eldest turned 9. Fuck, man. Time flies. Yeah, my eldest turned 9 like a week or two ago. But yeah, obviously there was a space in time where we had a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn. And I was the one providing, and it was like there was no possible way I could have like a hard month or week and then turn to the wife and go, like, I'm getting a bit stressed with the bills and everything because like I'm having a slow time. Like, can you go and work or do something? It's like, well, no, she had the 3 fucking kids to look after and they were babies, man. So that option weren't there. There was no like crash or potential claim or anything coming. So like none of that. It was literally, I earn the money or like nothing else is fucking coming. And I'd already kind of learnt this with before I met the wife and when I first went self-employed, because before being an electrician I'd done like a painting and decorating kind of thing with my brother. It was only for a few months and it didn't work out. But I had that transition period of like, I'd left school straight into an apprenticeship. I'd had like a weekend job when I was at school. But yeah, my apprenticeship was like 5 years. I'd been a mechanic. Then I'd went to UPS for 2 years loading lorries. So, you know, always employed. So when I first went self-employed, and it was this thing of like, you haven't got a guaranteed income. It's quite a shock and quite scary. And I remember getting that stressed and panicky over this idea of like, shit, I've got a, I think at the time I had like a Twingo Sport finance. Cause I had the first like RS black and white one in the country. So that's a cool little feeling at the time, you know. But yeah, so it was that thing of like, fuck, I've got all these bills coming out at the end of the month, and I couldn't go, well, my bills are this much, my wages are this much. It was like, all these bills are coming out, and at the time, like that date or whatever, it's like, well, I don't know how much money I'm going to have at the end of the month. But I remember being physically sick and throwing up because of this panic. I was a lot younger then, obviously. So what, I'm 34, so I'd have been like, what, 24, 25, something like that. But I remember getting to myself at this point in my head, I was like, right, worst case, they take my car off me. I can get a cheap car to get around in. Like, the not worst case isn't someone knocking on my door and putting a gun to my head and bang. Right? And then yeah, so that kind of helped me then going into when I had the family and stuff. But that was more a case of like I say, I'd prioritise food, making sure the wife always had money for food. So if there'd be times when I'd get paid from a job and I'd put it in like a savings pot in my bank account on my app because I knew bills would be coming out the next day and I'd need them to bounce so I could keep the money to give the wife food on the following Monday or something. And like I say, that's when I got good at just making phone calls. I'd be like, oh, yeah, sorry, that went in there this month or week. Can we do this? Blah, blah, blah. Trying to lower, just like networking with all these different bills and stuff. But I think as much as I communicated with the wife about it at the time and stuff, I don't think she mustn't have understood the weight of it or took it on well, because now she's in that position. She's struggling with it and she's having days where she's struggling to work because she's stressed about money and paying the bills. So it's this horrible thing when you get stressed and really panicky over stuff, because it's really counterproductive. So it stops you from actively putting in towards the thing that you're getting stressed about. Our mind's fucked, isn't it? Like, just, they're a fucking mess. I always say I always forget the terminology of it. When you get an animal that's been bred in a zoo, but then it won't survive out in the wild. Someone put in a comment on YouTube what that word is, because it's eluding me right now. But yeah, I say we've done that to ourselves as humans in the society that we've built. Like, we're not naturally equipped to deal with the world that we've made, right? So yeah, so it's been having a lot of conversations of like trying to tell her not to worry and not panic, but it's hard hearing that from someone. For some reason, I don't know if it's just a husband-wife thing, she doesn't really like to take advice from me, because she had the extreme version of seeing a friend recently she hadn't seen for a while. And quite famously for the years, she's always had this quote that she used from a friend of like, I don't pay the water bill. Like, it's water. It's a natural fucking right to have water. Like, I ain't fucking paying for it. So we've always joked, we always remember that. To this day, she still don't pay a water bill. But I know one of the biggest ones that the wife was worried about over here in the UK is we get a council tax payment. And she's like, if we don't pay that right, they try and take the whole year's money straight away and try and take that from you. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, great, the money won't be there, fuck them, sort of thing. But that particular bill has always got her stressed. Anyway, so she saw this friend and she was like, oh, fucking hell, like, yeah, I'll show you. And she went and got like a pile of letters. And apparently she's like, yeah, if you don't pay it the first week, they give you this letter. And then if it's been so many other weeks, you get this letter. And then you'll get, I think there is like a court summons. She's like, but I don't fucking go to it. So obviously that's like the further extreme. Because especially like, she's way better this past week. Like, there's been some lovely fucking days, because it's hard because she won't talk like all fucking day or a whole afternoon or anything. And I'm like, fuck, like, is this all my fault? Like, have I done something wrong? Like, should I try and find a way to work? Like, is this not fair putting it on her and everything like that? But her job is way more lucrative, and it's just, if my job was the way hers was, I'd be doing it. Like, in comparison, when I was doing my job and she did cakes for a bit, she was trying to do a cake making before the crash, because the main bits of the crash for her injury-wise is a wrist. So she can't do the cakes like she used to, because at the time we were building up like a little Facebook page and we were going to be making her like a legit business the year after, but then we had the crash. Anyway, the different in kind of periods of when she'd try and do some cakes because she'd be feeling guilty to bring some money in. At the time it was like, oh, Moan. My wife's name's Simone. Call her Moan for short. It's not a gripe on her name at all, right? But at the time, I'd be like, I can easily go out and earn more money than you, easier doing what I do than you can with the cakes. Like, she was putting a lot of time in for like fuck all coming out of it, right? So, and she'd get really stressed doing it, like, because she'd be trying to look after the kids and everything else in between. And we always just gauged on when each of our children started like nursery, or went from like mornings at nursery to then full-time and then full-time school, because it meant she had more hours to work on the cakes and stuff. But yeah, most of the time she'd do it, it'd make home life fucking horrible, and I'd be like, look, fuck your job off, mine earns more money, I will work. Now it's the other way around, where it's like, I've tried for years to keep on with my job despite the fucking just pure disdain I fucking have for it. Whereas now it's like she's got more potential with her work than I have with mine. So I'm like, you take gender out of it, and it's like, well, it makes sense that she's the main provider then. But there's always that little archaic fucking man of the house voice. It's like, nah, man, I should. And I'd get that with like now with me content and stuff. I'm like, we'll get to that point again, because I believe with the content I'm doing, if I can put it out in the right way and continue to do so, I can get enough attention, build enough of a following to hopefully then monetize it with just like ads and brands and shit like that to pay the bills and just have a half decent living. Like, I do want to make money from doing this, but just to provide. Like, if I can provide and the bills are covered every month and everything, like, other than that, I'm a pretty low maintenance kind of guy. There's some, like everyone, I've got some hopes and dreams of things like I'd love to have a bigger house. Like, so I've got 3 boys in 1 bedroom. Like, fuck yeah, I'd love to have a house where all my kids have their own bedrooms. That would be fucking lovely. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's things like that, and there's a whole thing. So I was going to call this podcast Project Lambo, which I think I'll go into in the next podcast, because there's a whole thing that happened to come to that. And then obviously the reason I've just decided to go with Ryan. But yeah, so the wife's kind of dealing with this whole thing, and it's just been a constant thing of trying to say to her, like you can stress, but it's fucking pointless. It ain't going to get you nowhere. Seeing her friend, who's really don't give a fuck about paying fucking anything, I don't think, helped. And that also helped us in our dynamic of me realising, and I says to her, like, you don't really like listening to me, do you, when it comes to this whole bill payments and thing. I went, whenever I'm talking to you about it, your head's just going, yeah, but you don't fucking care about bills. She was like, she kind of nodded like, well, yeah. I was like, it's fine. I was like, at least she's kind of got reacquainted with this old friend that's helped give her that kind of view. And like anything as well, like it's helped then, like anything, when you can do something and kind of get proof of concept almost. You know, when you do something, when you're anxious or scared about something, and then you go and do it, and you're like, oh, this isn't so bad. Like, I did that and it was okay. Like, the worst didn't happen. So we've had days where it's like, it's beautiful, man. She'll be like, I've chose happy today. And I've been like, what? She was like, I've chose happy. I'm going to be happy today. I'm like, this is fucking brilliant. I always say, man, like, the days when she's smiling and she's her genuine self, that's just all I want out of life. Like, I love my wife more than fucking anything, and I can't imagine anyone or anything else, because like when she's just her, she's just beautiful to be around. Which is like, we've had the conversations, and I've said that's why it's so hard when she is like really stressed and worried about the money and stuff, because she's not here. Like, she's here physically, but she's just not herself at all. Like, it's such a contrast, because she's such a light, bubbly, giggly, like happy, like nice person. When she's down, it's like, fuck, where you gone? Like me, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm quite content. I don't laugh much about stuff, so weirdly enough, I laugh more of it like daft things. Anyway, the contrast isn't as much there if I've got a bit of a down day. But yeah, when she is, it's really fucking there. So then that affects me. So then we've like had that conversation sort of thing. And again, like those kind of conversations, you have to tread lightly and be genuine but empathetic at the same time, because you don't want to be like, well, you're quiet all day and they know I'm upset. Like, you don't make it about yourself. It's a fine balance between communicating to your partner about how you're thinking and feeling, but not doing it in a way of it's like, fuck whatever you're going on and stuff, because whatever you are doing is making me feel like this. Like, you don't do it like that. So yeah, we had those kind of conversations, which helps keep you both on the same page. But yeah, what I was saying, like, is how she's had these good days where she's like, no, I've chose happy today. And then you can kind of reiterate in that, well, nothing's changed. Like, physically, like, shit's still the same. Those bills are still there. But today, on the day when, like, she's chose happy, feels completely different to, like, the day before, maybe when she was just fully, like, the cloud is over her eyes. over her head. She's just completely fucking stressed. All she's thinking about is like panicking, money, money, money. And it's like, well, today's no different than yesterday physically. Like, those bills are still coming, everything else, but like, look, like, you chose to be happy. So like, the day is just a lot nicer. And personally, I'm way more about just life and experience and the day. Not in too much of like a spiritual fucking way, but more in a way of like, with me trying to make content and stuff, she might be like, right, I'm going shopping, going to go do the food shop. And she's like, you can stay if you want. You know, you don't have to come with me, she'll say. And on one hand, it's like, yeah, I could stay and I could probably do something productive. Like, I could work on a bit more of a video or some editing or whatever. But I'm like, I like going shopping with my wife. Like, because we'll see something or someone or think of something and she'll say something. And it's just life. Like, I enjoy being with my wife and being around her. And like I say, a lot of it is from the crash and the whole like, well, fuck, we could be dead next week. Because a lot of what I like to try and say is like, if we get, I always think of it with a Monday for some reason. Like, if we got to a Monday and it's like, I want to say I'm gone, but then that wouldn't make much sense because I'd be gone, so I'd be thinking. Let's say like, oh, I'm really bad in the morning, blah, blah, get me to the hospital. Right, shit, yeah, you've got this, like, you've got like hours to live or days or whatever. I'd fucking hate looking back and being like, all I did all that previous week was just work on videos. Like, I didn't do fuck all with my kids. I didn't take them to any of their clubs. I didn't go shopping with my wife. I didn't just live life with the people and that I care about. I've heard enough stories from like, mainly builders, of like, oh, so-and-so, blah, 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 yeah, millionaire, and then died. It's like, oh yeah, so-and-so, da-da-da, millionaire, then died. I'm like, fuck that. Yeah, don't want that life. Thank you. I'm good. I'd rather live. So I think I want to put that across in my podcast because again, I see it from like Gary V and other people will put posts up like, did you wake up today and you and all your family and everyone you care about are all healthy? It's like, well, today's a good day then. And it's like, yeah, man, but you're a millionaire. Like, you've got everything fucking covered. You can say that. So I want to be in this position where I've like just told you everything I've just told you, of being like, fuck, like most of the bills this month have bounced. We haven't paid the rent yet this month. In fact, we probably ain't going to get it inside this month because it's the 29th today. And I could genuinely sit here and say, despite those things, not in some weird like I'm blessed fucking way, but in like, I'm good, man. I'm okay, right? I fucking love my wife, and as long as me and her are good, and my kids are good, I'm good. Like, I'm not, because people get confused with that thing of like, they want a happy life, and I've said this in old podcasts, right? It's like, happy is a momentary emotion. It's like, in that moment, you could be happy. Oh, we had great sex. I was happy. Like, just went on a roller coaster and come off. Fuck yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy. I got adrenaline. I'm happy, right? Yeah. So, new films come out, new game that you've been waiting for. Oh, I'm happy it's release day. I had it yesterday with a new Power World update. I'm like, fucking hell, today's a happy day. Like, there's all this new stuff on the game. I'm happy, right? But in general life, I'm like expectations help you a lot. Like with my kids, they're not all fucking perfect, right? They're kids. There can be hard work. There's days I have to tell them off and not let them have things and whatnot. But generally, they're healthy, right? There's no health concerns with any of them, really. Same with the wife. We've got like little niggly things. Like me and the wife are working on our knees at the gym at the minute because we've both got creaky knees, which is fucking weird getting into your 30s. But I don't believe any of that age crap. I'm like, this is just because of how we've been living. We need to fix it. Getting off point already. Like, this will get more coherent, I feel, as I do this more often again. It's just there's obviously been a lot because it's been such a big gap between the last podcast and this one. But yeah, I just want to genuinely put that thing out there of like, you could honestly twist my circumstances and everything at the minute and be like, mate, you are not good. Your life is bad. But I want to sit here and be like, I don't feel like it's bad. Because most of the bad stuff is just around money. And I've learned, man, like, money can come and go. Like, you could get a fucking message one day, but like, you got some family relative that's left you a fucking load. You could enter the lottery and win that. Like, you might just get some giant fucking job opportunity. Like, just shit happens and money can come along, right? You might have a blistering idea and be like, oh, fuck yeah, why didn't I think of that? And then put some money into something and invest or whatever. Just literally, because money's so like not tangible, it can literally be there 1 minute and gone the fucking next, right? So that almost makes it irrelevant. What you can't do that with is relationships and people and experience and that sort of thing. So me being well aware of, like, I didn't have much of like a dating life or anything really before I met my wife. So like, I fully fucking appreciate every day that I'm married to this beautiful fucking woman, this beautiful soul that she is. I appreciate every fucking day. Anytime she does a dinner that she doesn't deem to be like at her level, because she's like a trained chef and shit, she'll always be like, oh, I'm sorry the dinner's not great, right? I compare it still now after 10 years to, well, this is better than anything I'd make. I fucking appreciate this. I'm not like, well, where's my so-and-so dinner? I fucking love it. And yes, with my kids, my middle son's kind of autistic. I didn't read the report properly. He just struggles a bit emotionally, right? But aside from that, like, he's very high functioning. We've been told he's a gifted mathematician. He's got a memory that's like an elephant, man. He's correct. Like, if he has got bad things, the good things he's got outweigh the bad, right? So my kids are good. My wife's good. I'm good. My relationships are good with the people that I really care about, I really want to maintain. So yeah, it's a good day. Could it be better? Of course. There'll always be things a bit better. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say to you, like, I wouldn't feel better knowing that, hey, like, I got a good few grand sat in the bank, all the bills are paid for, and if we need or want anything particularly, we can go get it. That'd be nicer. Obviously, there's still that little bit of weight there, but for me, it's kind of like a bit of a heavy earring put on, whereas with the wife at the minute, it's more like a fucking chain boulder to her ankle. You know what I mean? That old picture. Big boulder and a fucking chain to your ankle, dragging you along. But yeah, I think that's a nice point. I think we unpacked quite a bit there for myself for the first one back. Yeah. There's obviously loads of things I could touch on, I want to touch on, but let's ease into it. Let's take it easy, because this messed up once or twice with the video, so I know I'm going to have to edit this a little bit. So yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, to me, if you like the content. Check out the other videos and all that. If I've hit on any points that you've felt strongly about, drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts, feelings, maybe how you'd deal with my life circumstance, whatever. Or if you've got something similar, or maybe if anything I've said has correlated to you and you've agreed, maybe you've been in a crash or some heavy fucking incident in your life that it's like near death or whatever. Just, yeah, I like talking. It'd be nice to talk to some people in the comments. Subscribing's always fucking good. Liking the video helps, I believe. So yeah, I don't know if I'll be putting this out as audio at the minute. Right now I'm just focusing on YouTube, and I am doing the reels across other platforms, but I'm just focusing mainly on YouTube, so there is that. Right then, don't be afraid of the day. I used to always say that, and I still believe that. So yeah, and I'll be back. I'm recording these on a Friday morning. I'll do my best to bang them out on a Friday evening, I think. So I'd rather just get them done, get them out. I'm not too bothered about holding them off, because once they're up, you can listen to them when you want, can't you? Right then. Love you all. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.